When you were younger, were you ever a part of the school of the gifted and talented, and you were put in a special class with others that were your peers that were academically talented as well? Well, I'm about to pull the curtains on this government or this project that we were a part of, and that is still programs that are in the U.S. school system, public school system. So, this gifted program was very intentional, and why they were publicly designed to nurture, so to speak, so they say, high potential students. There was also a hidden layer to why and how they were created and operated, especially if you were in one between the 70s and the 2000s. Here's the deeper agenda behind the gifted program. Number one, Cold War origins and intelligence gathering. You heard me right. These programs really ramped up after Sputnik 1957 because the US government was shook that the Soviets were producing smarter scientists. So America started screening kids for advanced thinking, not just to nurture them, but to track intellectual elites early and filter future scientists, engineers, military strategists, doctors, etc. Number two, funded by the government and military interests. Programs like T.A.G, Talented and Gifted, or G.A.T.E, and others often had research funding connected to the Department of Education, NSF, and even military think tanks. Some of the curriculum was subtly influenced by psychological studies to observe problem solving, leadership, and moral decision making under pressure. Number three, psychological testing and profiling. If you remember, those weird logic puzzles, moral dilemmas, or abstract assignments, those weren't just for fun. Gifted kids were psychologically profiled, and in many cases, their data was used for educational research without them fully knowing the scope or their parents. Number four, some programs were absolutely experimental, especially in the inner city or the marginalized communities, they say. They were covert social engineering efforts to test how exceptional children from certain backgrounds performed. It wasn't just about IQ, it was about emotional resilience, creativity under pressure, and leadership potential. Number five, black and brown gifted kids, high interest cases. If you were melanated and in the program, you were definitely an anomaly to the study. Why? Because your brilliance challenged societal narratives about intelligence and success. That made you high interest, baby. So were you being studied? Yes, if you were in the gifted program, especially one tied to a public school, district, or university, it's very likely your cognitive, emotional, and social data was used to some degree, especially if you were tested regularly, then you better believe it. They may not have tagged you as a science experiment, but yes, the government and academia was absolutely observing you and your peers as part of a large behavioral and intelligence study, some of which were quietly tied to national defense interests or psychological research. You were chosen because you shine different, and they knew it. Whether it was to develop or to decode you, Depends on your perspective, but yes, you were studied, and your light probably shook some systems. Okay. I will post some receipts and links so you could do your own research and dig deeper, because like I always tell you, don't take my word. Don't take my word for anything. Always research. Do your own research. Okay? Let's go deeper into the origins of the gifted programs. Okay? Earlier I mentioned about the Cold War motivations. The launch of Sputnik. Remember I mentioned that in 1957. By the Soviet Union. Okay? That ignited a sense of urgency for the United States. This led the enactment of the National Defense Education Act, NDEA, in 1958, a year later, aiming to identify and nurture American students with exceptional abilities in science, mathematics, and foreign language. That's the reason why I'm a doctor today. The underlying goal was to ensure national security by cultivating a generation capable of competing with Soviet advances. Psychological profiling and longitudinal studies. My hands are itching. My right hand. Ooh, I got some money coming. Some big money. All right. Beyond academic enrichment, gifted programs became avenues for extensive psychological research. For instance, Project Talent, initiated in the 1960s, was a large-scale study accessing the aptitude interests of the backgrounds of high school students to better understand and to utilize the nation's human resources. Similarly, the study of mathematical precocious youth, SMPY, starting in 1971, tracked individuals with exceptional mathematic abilities to study their development over time. The eugenics connection. The early 20th century roots of intelligence testing in the U.S. are intertwined with the eugenic movement. Psychologists like Lewis Terman, who revised the Binet-Simon intelligence test into the Stanford-Binet test, believed in identifying and promoting individuals with high intellectual potential, often to the exclusion of others deemed less capable. This legacy influenced the structure and intent of later gifted programs. Targeted identification and potential biases. Gifted programs often relied on standardized testing to identify participants, which inadvertently favored students from certain backgrounds. The Maryland Report of 1972 highlighted that only a small fraction of gifted students received appropriate educational services, with significant disparities based on race and socioeconomic status. This raises concerns about the inclusivity and fairness of this program. I have to take something to drink because I gotta move through a lot of information. I took a lot of notes. As you guys know me, for those that have been pioneers of my channel, I'm a heavy researcher. Oh my God, I needed that. Okay. All right. Experimental curricula and unconventional training. Some gifted programs incorporated unconventional teaching methods, including problem solving, exercises, code breaking, and exposure to foreign language and cultures. While these activities aim to enhance cognitive abilities, they also mirrored techniques used in intelligent training, leading some to speculate about hidden agendas or MK Ultra. All right, so were you being studied? Given the historical context and multifaceted objectives of gifted programs, it's plausible that participants were not only being educated but also observed and analyzed for research purposes. While the primary intent was to cultivate talent for national advancements, the methods employed often involved psychological profiling and data collection. Okay, um, let's proceed. Let's break down what GATE stands for: Gifted and Talented Education. It's a specialized program developed to identify and nurture children with exceptional intellectual, creative, artistic, or leadership abilities. But GATE wasn't just about giving smart kids a head start. Let's go deeper. What was GATE really about? Talent scouting for national interest. GATE was especially prominent in California and other forward thinking districts starting in the 1970s through the 80s, when America was still under Cold War pressure to produce the next generation of innovators, scientists, and technocrats. Translation: the government wanted to make sure the most brilliant kids didn't get missed, so they were sifted out and tracked early. Behavioral and cognitive mapping. GATE participants were often monitored using not only IQ scores but also emotional intelligence, social behavior, moral reasoning, and even how they responded to complex ethical questions. This data was fed into state and university level research systems, sometimes without parents' knowledge, and they especially were not privy to the long term tracking. Social engineering or elevation, you decide. GATE didn't just teach, it cultivated through unique curricula, independent projects, and access to enriched materials. But there's some strong evidence that the program also served as a social experiment in shaping leaders, filtering future influentials, and seeing how young minds could adapt to authority, creativity under pressure, and group dynamics. Minority kids engage extra scrutiny. If you were quote unquote black, brown, or indigenous in GATE, you were an anomaly to the system. Your inclusion was often a case study in exceptionality, and you were like observed more closely to measure how outlier brilliance developed in a society that didn't expect it. So, people who've gone through GATE programs, like myself or like you, who is listening or who's interested, are now speaking out saying, we were tested more than taught. I felt like a lab rat sometimes. The pressure was different, and the system seemed more interested in my mind than my well being. And honestly, none of you are wrong if you felt this way. So let's see the connections here with MK Ultra, the military, psychological, and AI related systems. We're going to go deep. So stick with me, stick with me, stick with me, because it will be more than worth your time. Okay? Let me get further into my notes and let's do the damn thing. Um, we're gonna get deep, you guys, deeper than deep. So, GATE and MK Ultra adjacent studies. While there's no direct evidence linking the G.A.T.E to MK Ultra, some parallels raise eyebrows. MK Ultra was a covert CIA program in the 1950s and 60s focused on mind control and psychological experiments. G.A.T.E, established later, aimed to identify and nurture gifted children. Some former G.A.T.E students recall unusual activities such as engagements in code breaking and learning Morse code, assignments involving foreign language, including Russia, exercises that seemed more like psychological profiling than standard education. These experiences have led some to speculate about deeper agendas. Data funneled into military, psychological, and AI systems. The data collected from G.A.T.E participants' test scores, behavioral assessments, and more could be valuable for various applications. Military. AI is increasingly used in military contexts to analyze behavioral patterns and predict outcomes. Psychological research. Understanding cognitive and emotional patterns aids in the developing training programs and resilience strategies. Artificial intelligence. Large data sets from diverse populations help train AI models for various purposes, including mental health assessments. While there is no concrete evidence that G.A.T.E data was directly funneled into the system, the overlap in interest suggests potential intersections. Okay. Correlation between G.A.T.E alumni and psychic intuitive abilities, neurodivergence, and spiritual awakening. Many G.A.T.E alumni report experiences that align with heightened intuition, neurodivergent traits, and spiritual awakening, psychic abilities, especially. Some individuals believe their heightened sensitivities and intuitive insights stem from their early G.A.T.E experience. Neurodivergence traits associated with ADHD, autism, and other neurodivergent conditions are prevalent among former G.A.T.E students, potentially due to the program's focus on atypical cognitive profiles. Spiritual awakening. The unique cognitive patterns of neurodivergent individuals may facilitate deeper spiritual experiences and awakenings. These patterns suggest that G.A.T.E may have inadvertently or intentionally selected individuals with predispositions towards such experiences. Here's the conclusion. While definitive links between G.A.T.E and covert programs like MK Ultra remain speculative, the parallels and reported experiences of the alumni warrant further exploration. The potential use of collected data in military and AI contexts combined with the unique cognitive and spiritual profiles of G.A.T.E participants paint a complex picture that blends educational research and perhaps deeper agendas. I will provide the links in the comment, not the comment section, but the description box. Please comment because that helps my video to circulate in YouTube land. And thank you so much for joining the channel. If you have subscribed, if you have not subscribed, please do so you will not miss out on important content such as this. No one works for free. I do benefit if you make a donation. Donations are welcome. Donations is how I keep my channel up and my content current. Thank you so much again for tuning in and chiming in. I'll see you next time. Namaskar.